Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Ardis. This is the Dr. Ardis Show, and this special presentation, this podcast is being brought to you by my new book, Moving Beyond COVID-19 Lies. If you don't have the book yet, get it at thedrardisshow.com. Go to Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, wherever you want to go buy the book, go get it. It's already setting records on Amazon. We're destroying their ability to keep their products up and keeping their systems running. And this is a great problem to have because so many people have been lied to around the world. Let's see how much truth we can spread to them and hope we can bring to them. That hope is found in multiple chapters here in Moving Beyond COVID-19 Lies. They know the symptoms they call long COVID, your loved ones are going to struggle with for up to 14 years. The government has published. So please go get the book, get it to your loved ones so you can help be a part of their healing journey and restoring hope and faith in their own ability to heal. All right. So this presentation is going to be all about a vitamin that not a lot of people talk about, not a lot of people give a lot of love to. There's one vitamin above all of them that when you start saying vitamins, two of them primarily come to mind, but one actually is at the top, and that's usually vitamin C. Then the second one is usually vitamin Bs, which there are many of. And these are all great vitamins, obviously, that plants make on this earth that God designed. And these plants take these minerals out of the ground. Minerals are things like sodium, salt, zinc, magnesium, copper, you name it, all the metals, magnesium. They draw it up into the plant. And then using the light of the sun, the different gases that are found in the air, our plants actually turn them into vitamins. One of those vitamins that I think gets mightily overlooked is vitamin A. And I want to take the opportunity to now educate you on some of the miraculous benefits of this vitamin you don't really want to ignore. So my goal is to bring awareness, education. And one of the things I think that would be beneficial is we're going to line out why it is I've selected certain ingredients to be in any of our formulations. And there are three supplements you will find at the Dr. Ardis Show, which actually have high amounts of vitamin A in them. And there's a reason for that. So outside of those reasons, I would just like you to know what it is about vitamin A, which is a vitamin God designed plants to create for us. One of those being carrots, for example. We all hear carrots are good for eyesight. Well, vitamin A is what is primarily made up in carrots to support eye health. So that's just one. So how many people out there are dealing with macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, optic migraines, you name it? Anybody who's having visual disturbances or issues with their vision, you might want to consider vitamin A and learn about vitamin A. And it has many more health benefits than you realize. It's not just the eyes. So just like every other show we do, every presentation I do, this PowerPoint presentation will be at the Patient Resources tab at the Dr. Ardis Show. You can download it and you can get all the research studies, the articles publishing the great, wonderful healing benefits of vitamin A at the Patient Resources tab at the Dr. Ardis Show for free. It'll be titled Why Dr. Ardis Loves Vitamin A. So I'm going to take you through some of those right now. I'm going to take you through what it is that vitamin A is proven to be so beneficial for in your life. And then this will help substantiate any of the three products we already carry or any additional ones we carry in the future. You now have a full understanding, or at least a more full understanding of why it is Dr. Ardis wanted to make sure you had vitamin A going into your body for any of these formulations we've created. These are some of our whys. So why are our products so unique? What makes them so great? Well, I'm going to tell you why it is I've been hung up on loving vitamin A for so long. And I want to start this with a story, actually. About 12 years ago, I had 4 children in a house, very small, all excited about Christmas. And this was Christmas Eve. And all of a sudden, I had developed, like literally in one day, what felt like every symptom of a really severe case of the flu. All my joints hurt, my body hurt, my head hurt, I was coughing, hacking, and I just felt horrible. I did not have a fever, but I just felt horrible. And if you know as a parent what Christmas Eve and Christmas Day means as far as your energy requirements, this was a horrible time to get sick. I didn't use any vitamin C, actually, on this day. I had this huge amount of vitamin A in my house, and I'd already known that if I could take a specific dose of this, it's been proven to be able to help overcome pneumonia, influenza viruses of any kind in like 48 hours or less. Now, vitamin C and vitamin A are different. When you get vitamin C, it's typically given to you in a package with milligrams as the dosage. When you get vitamin A supplements, it's usually in international units. IUs is the designation. So when you see like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, that's like one capsule of vitamin C. When you see vitamin A, you'll see things like 200,000 international units of vitamin A. Well, that would be like 20 capsules for a lot of these companies. But what I had actually learned years prior to this experience, having these flu-like symptoms on a Christmas Eve, and I wanted to feel better by the morning to watch my kids be as excited about whatever was going to be in their home that next morning and what our activities were. I actually took 450,000 international units of just vitamin A, and that was like 20 gel caps, just a ton of vitamin A. And then I went to bed feeling horrible. By the next morning, when I woke up early to the clamoring feet up at my door, wanting me to wake up and go downstairs with these kids to see what was downstairs in the living room, waiting for them, I actually felt 95% better. I had no limitations in energy, no limitations in focus. I had no coughing symptoms, no achy joints. I literally wiped it out overnight. This is how incredible vitamin A is. But if you don't know this information, you wouldn't have even grabbed that product to try to help you recover. And that was like 12, 13 years ago for me. Maybe even longer, actually. It was actually like 16 years ago. It had to have been in 2008, actually. So yeah, it's been like 16 years. All right. My kids were all very little at the time. So at that point, I would have had 4 little ones under the age of 9. Actually, they would have been under the age of 7, actually. All right. So let's dive into this. Let's teach you about vitamin A. I'm very excited to present this to you. I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy this. All right. So let's go to screen sharing here. We're going to show you my PowerPoint slide and walk you through these. I think you're going to be very excited about what you're about to learn. I was excited. All right, so here we go. Why Dr. Ardis loves vitamin A. You're going to see the QR code there. This is what you're going to see at the beginning of every presentation I do. At the beginning of every PDF we provide, underneath the Patient Resources tab. Scan it, gives you access. You put in your email. Now you get news alerts on every presentation I'm doing. This is an article from Healthline Magazine, a very reputable medical online journal. 6 health benefits of vitamin A backed by science. Let's see what they say. Number 1, they publish this protects your eyes from night blindness and age-related decline. Now, there are 3 products I have that you may not even know have vitamin A in it, and you're probably already doing it. But for any of you out there who are worried about your vision, glaucoma, worried about retinal detachment, macular degeneration, doesn't matter, night blindness, reading glasses, this protects, vitamin A does, from night blindness and age-related decline. Well, let's look at what their highlighted statements are in this article about vitamin A. Eating adequate amounts of beta-carotene, which is a form of vitamin A, may help slow the decline in eyesight that some people experience as they age. Giving people over the age of 50 with some eyesight degeneration an antioxidant supplement, including beta-carotene, which is what's found in carrots, vitamin A, reduced their risk of developing advanced macular degeneration by 25%. Well, I don't know about you, but I love my vision. And any way of preserving that vision for as long as possible, keeping it as clear as possible. I don't know why it's not number 1 on our list or your list or my list. Number 2, Healthline Magazine publishes it may also lower your risk of certain cancers. Vitamin A plays an important role in the growth and development of your cells. Its influence on cancer risk and role in cancer prevention is of interest to scientists. Eating higher amounts of vitamin A in the forms of beta-carotene has been linked to a decreased risk of certain types of cancer, including Hodgkin's lymphoma, as well as cervical cancer, lung cancer, and bladder cancer. Well, how many of you knew that? And then they publish, you'll see the numbers 10, 11, 12, 13 at the end of that sentence. That's 4 individual peer-reviewed published research studies confirming vitamin A beats and reduces the risk of each of those cancers from ever forming. Vitamin A plays a vital role in maintaining your body's natural defenses. As you see it, number 3 section of this article supports a healthy immune system. Like I just shared the story of me with the flu like 16 years ago. So let's keep reading the highlighted areas in red. This is what we want you to focus on. It's also involved in the production and function of white blood cells, which at Healing for the Ages, I showed you video evidence of what white blood cells do to protect you from all bacteria, virus, even parasites, which help to capture and clear bacteria and other pathogens from your bloodstream. A deficiency in vitamin A can increase your susceptibility to infections and delay your recovery when you get sick. Well, how many of you heard that during COVID? I'm not sure many of you ever actually heard that. I did mention it several times. In fact, in countries where infections like measles and malaria are common, correcting the vitamin A deficiency in children has been shown to decrease the risk of dying from those diseases. Well, I don't know about y'all, but every vaccine you were told you need to give your kids or yourself as you're aging, elderly, you're told you need shingles shots, pneumonia shots, and flu shots every year. COVID-19 boosters now every year. No, you don't. If you're told you need to get the vaccines because there's a threat of you getting pneumonia that year and that could kill you in a hospital, pneumonia. I'm telling you right now, they're telling you these diseases that are caused by viruses and parasites like malaria and measles, which is a virus, measles, just like the flu and pneumonia. They're telling you here the risk of dying disappears when you're taking vitamin A and correct the deficiency. So even if you got the flu, even if you got measles, even if you got malaria, you won't die if you're supplementing vitamin A. Reduces your risk of that, which I thought was the intention behind the vaccine agenda. So if you think you need vaccines, you might think you need vitamin A. 4, reduces your risk of acne. I don't know how many of you struggle with acne, but 600 million people every year do. That's a lot. That's almost 9% of the whole world's population every year. All right, so those of you struggling with acne, vitamin A deficiency may increase your risk of developing acne as it causes an overproduction of the protein keratin in your hair follicles, they state. Vitamin A also supports bone health. Vitamin A is also necessary for proper bone growth and development, and a deficiency in this vitamin has been linked to poor bone health. Well, what's an example of poor bone health? Osteoporosis, osteopenia, leukemia, any blood and bone cancers. In fact, they state here people with lower blood levels of vitamin A are at a higher risk of bone fractures. Did you know that? Vitamin A in their diet had a 6% increase. Vitamin A in their diet had a 6% decreased risk of fractures if they were supplementing vitamin A. Healthline magazine has another article titled 8 Signs and Symptoms of a Vitamin A Deficiency. Well, let's learn what those are. Dry skin. How many of you have dry skin? How many of you knew that was a vitamin A deficiency? Vitamin A is important for the creation and repair of skin cells. And in one 12-week study, people with chronic eczema who took 10 to 40 milligrams of altretinoin, a prescription vitamin A, per day experienced up to a 53% reduction in their symptoms. Now, this would easily be accomplished with a vitamin A supplement, but I'm just telling you, they did it here too. Dry eyes. How many of you are struggling with dry eyes? Dry eyes, or the inability to produce tears, is one of the first signs of a vitamin A deficiency. Well, how many of you have dry eyes, photophobia, and are taking eye drops every day? Well, you might want to consider vitamin A deficiency and taking vitamin A supplements. And then one study found that high doses of vitamin A decreased the prevalence of dry eyes by 63% among infants and children who took supplements for 16 months. Well, that would apply to adults also. Night blindness. Severe vitamin A deficiency can lead to night blindness. Women with night blindness were given vitamin A. Both forms of vitamin A improved the condition. The women's ability to adapt to darkness increased by over 50% over 6 weeks of treatment. Now, night blindness is one of the reasons why, as we age, the elderly are being told you can't drive anymore because your vision gets much worse at night. Did you know that vitamin A supplementation has been proven over a 6-week period to reduce the adaptation difficulty to night light vision? Did you know that vitamin A deficiency can create infertility and troubles conceiving? Well, let's read the highlighted statements. Vitamin A deficiency can lead to infertility in both men and women. Female rats, remember, if it happens to a rat or a mouse, it happens to humans, all researchers say. Female rats with vitamin A deficiency have difficulty getting pregnant. They may have embryos with birth defects. How many IVF, in vitro fertilization clinics in this country are testing for vitamin A deficiency? And if they're not, you should request it, and then you should start taking it, along with the other things we teach you about. Infertile men may have a greater need for antioxidants. Vitamin A is one of the nutrients that acts as an antioxidant in the body. Vitamin A deficiency is also related to miscarriages. Well, how many miscarriages are people having? I actually had someone I was related to in a previous marriage who had over 20 plus miscarriages. You think that's nuts? They had actually, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 actual full-term pregnancies with children. That's a lot of getting pregnant. But a lot of women in this country are struggling with miscarriages, so you might want to consider vitamin A. Women who had recurrent miscarriages found that they had low levels of vitamin A. Tell your loved ones, tell your grandchildren, tell your children. Delayed growth. Vitamin A supplements alone or with other nutrients can improve growth. 1,000 children in Indonesia found that those with vitamin A deficiency who took a high dose supplement over 4 months grew 0.15 inches more than children who took a placebo. So they actually saw physical evidence of growing taller in just 4 months in children. Throat and chest infections. Children who took 10,000 IUs of vitamin A per week had fewer respiratory infections than those who received a placebo. Isn't that amazing? Now I'm going to take a moment here to just hold this up. This is actually our Breathe Free product. One of the very first ingredient here. This is for the lungs and respiratory infections and asthma and anything related to the lungs. Breathe Free. One of the very first ingredients in here is vitamin A at a very high dose for that exact reason. Poor wound healing. Vitamin A promotes the creation of collagen, an important component of healthy skin. Research suggests that both oral and topical vitamin A can strengthen skin. Elderly men who treated wounds with topical vitamin A had a 50% reduction in the size of their wounds. Acne and breakouts. Low vitamin A levels to the presence of acne. Multiple studies have confirmed. In one study, 200 adults, vitamin A levels in those with acne were over 80 micrograms lower than in those without the condition. Research shows that creams containing vitamin A can reduce the number of acne lesions by 50%, which is why vitamin A is actually in my Clear Skin Complex supplement to help with acne, zits, pimples, you name it. It's definitely in there for that reason. I had done all that research well before the pandemic. All right, now this is an Oxford published study, the Journal of Infectious Diseases. Well, actually, it's Oxford Academic. It's that website. The benefits and concerns related to vitamin A supplementation. Let's go through this. Vitamin A plays a role in children's health. Vitamin A is essential for the production of rhodopsin, the light-sensitive chemical in your retinas, and its deficiency results in night blindness and more severe forms of xerophthalmia, including corneal ulcers and blindness. So all of you listening to me, if you've been diagnosed with any of those things, did you know that vitamin A deficiency leads to those scenarios? Did your ophthalmologist tell you that? Did your optometrist discuss that with you? Did they test you for vitamin A deficiency? You might want to do it. This researcher out of Indonesia, Summer, and the rest of his cohorts found that children greater than 6 months old who received vitamin A every 6 months were significantly less likely to die than those who did not receive vitamin A. Well, how many people are concerned about SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome? And if you are, you might want to make sure your babies, grandbabies, nieces, nephews are taking vitamin A supplementation. And just so y'all know, we have it in our Doc's Healthy Kids vitamin for this very reason. All right, let's keep reading in this, though. A large dose of vitamin A given only to neonates, these are infants, reduced mortality or death in infants in Indonesia who were of normal birth weight. Do you know that in America, human beings, listen to me, did you know in America has the worst infant mortality rate of all countries that are industrialized in the whole world? We have more babies that don't make it 1 year old or 28 days old after birth than any other country in the world. You might want to start making sure they get vitamin A. A similar trial in India found beneficial effects of supplementation in infants with low birth weight. Mortality benefits. Mortality benefits of vitamin A are not affected by varying frequency, total dose, or duration of supplementation. How many people go like this? What happens if I miss my week of vitamin A or whatever supplement? What if I missed it a day? Do I go back on taking it? Do I have to worry about it? What they have discovered here in this article published in Sage Journals, this medical journal, is that death rates from vitamin A deficiencies are all improved no matter how often you take it, what the dose is, and how long you do it for. It just doesn't matter. You got to get vitamin A in the body, and you see benefits to all things mortality, death, disease. In this study, they were reviewing all research studies on the internet that are published that are using vitamin A to discuss death rates and disease rates. This was the results. They identified 17 trials, including 1,180,000 children. That's a lot of people in studies. Vitamin A supplementation reduced death rates by 22%. This protective effect was not modified by increasing the supplementation frequency, how often they took it and what was the dose. The next statement, this protective effect was not modified by the total dose. This protective effect was not modified or changed by the supplement duration. If it was for 6 months, a year, it didn't matter. As long as they got vitamin A in their body ever supplemented, the outcomes were better. Then they said, this is what we did. We identified randomized trials of vitamin A supplementation in children aged 6 months to 5 years old and evaluated for total death rates. And they found age 6 to 11 months at 100,000 international units per dose, up to age 12 months, up to 200,000 international units per dose was what were the normal doses given to children in these studies. Said they identified these 17 trials that were conducted in a total of 8 different countries, and they list them there on 3 different continents. So this is a lot of human beings on the earth. Supplementation frequency ranged from every 3 months to every 2 years. So sometimes they were taking vitamin A every 3 months, and sometimes it wasn't, but every 2 years. And then they found that there was a duration of supplementation anywhere between an average of 4 months to 60 months is what these trials were looking for evidence of vitamin A being used. How often, how much, and doesn't matter. Our findings confirm an overall death benefit, you're not dying as often, mortality benefit of vitamin A supplementation in children aged 6 months to 5 years in countries with prevalent vitamin A deficiency, and provide novel findings on the absence of significant influence of frequency, dose, or duration of dosing on efficacy within the relative broad range. They're telling you it doesn't matter how much vitamin A you give them. There's all these different ranges that these people are testing. All the age groups, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't seem to matter how long the trial runs for, how often they tell them to take vitamin A. As long as they take it, it doesn't matter if it's every 2 years, every 3 months, every single study about treating kids with vitamin A, they all have great outcomes. You might want to consider our Docs Healthy Kids for any of your grandchildren, nephews, nieces that's got high amounts of vitamin A in it. A large dose of vitamin A is more efficiently absorbed and stored in the liver and then used as needed over a prolonged time period. This is why if you just get them vitamin A or Docs Healthy Kids, it doesn't matter how often you do it. It actually gets stored in the liver of your kid or yourself to be used in the future. Benefits appear relatively early and do not diminish with extended treatment. That is supporting both early start of vitamin A and extended treatment through a 5-year period, 5 years of age. In conclusion, our findings confirm beneficial effects of vitamin A supplementation in children younger than 5 years old in nations with prevalent vitamin A deficiency without significant influences of frequency of taking it, total doses of vitamin A to take, or duration of dosing within the ranges evaluated. All children in America, you are the sickest children of all children in the world. There are no more total diagnosed diseases represented in children age groups than in America. There's no more juvenile diabetes than in Americans. There's no more obesity in children in Americans. There's no more diabetes, high blood pressure, juvenile arthritis, autism. All of it's more in America. There's many more problems here and sicker kids. No more asthma, double ear infections than in American children. Yeah, I think they need vitamin A. In the Pediatrics Journal for the American Academy of Pediatrics, they even have an article here titled The Beneficial Effects of Weekly Low-Dose Vitamin A Supplementation on Acute Lower Respiratory Infections, that they're going to abbreviate in this study as ALRI, Acute Lower Respiratory Infections. So that means you take your lungs, and in the very lower part of your lungs, this is where the infection is in these children. Lower respiratory infections. Pneumonia is a lower respiratory infection. And diarrhea in Ecuadorian children. So let's see what they did in Ecuador that they figured out that they don't want to study in America because they don't love American children. They just want to vaccinate them all. All right, this is the method. They found a placebo-controlled field trial of 400 children, 6 to 36 months of age. Half of the children received 10,000 international units of vitamin A a week, and half received a placebo for 40 weeks, which means they did not get vitamin A. These were the results. Respiratory infection, ALRI, acute lower respiratory infection, was significantly lower in underweight, supplement-treated children with vitamin A than in the underweight children on placebo. How about that? Regression analysis, the risk of getting the acute lower respiratory infection was lower in the underweight but supplement-treated children with vitamin A than the underweight children who did not get vitamin A. The risk of severe diarrhea was lower in supplement-treated children 18 to 23 months of age than in children on placebo in this age group. Conclusions. Weekly low-dose 10,000 international units of vitamin A supplementation in a region of subclinical deficiency. Subclinical means we're not seeing symptoms in these kids, even though their blood work says it is low. We don't see symptoms. Subclinical means, in a scientific terms, they say if it's subclinical, it means you're not going into a clinic because you're sick. It's not clinical. Clinical would be you're showing up in a clinic complaining about a symptom. So subclinical means this is without symptoms. They know these kids are subclinical. They're not having symptoms, but they're deficient. And it protected these kids from developing acute lower respiratory symptoms in normal children. Well, if you've got normal children in your life, you might want to get them on a low dose vitamin A or high dose. Doc's Healthy Kids, it's got your vitamin A for them. Here's Science Direct, another published medical journal. Recovery from impaired dark adaptation in night-blind pregnant Nepali women who received small daily doses of vitamin A. As amaranth leaves, carrots, goat liver, vitamin A fortified rice, or retinol palmitate. Retinol palmitate is vitamin A. In fact, when you see acne is improved with vitamin A, when you look at any products that use vitamin A, over the counter or prescription, retinol palmitate is what's on the label. That is vitamin A. This study was conducted in a 7-week cycle between July 2000 and May 2002, so 2 years long, in a total of 60 groups of 9 small villages. Pregnant women aged 18 to 45 were identified as night blind. In this area of Nepal, VDCs consisted of these groups, small villages called wards. The study area was divided into 6 contiguous geographic locations or areas. Night blindness and non-night blinded women were enrolled from each of these 6 areas. Night blind pregnant women were randomly assigned to one of 6 treatment groups to receive a midday meal and a single capsule supplement 6 days a week for a period of 6 weeks. So 6 days a week, they got the supplement that included vitamin A for a period of 6 weeks. And they show you here what they gave these people that were high amounts of vitamin C and what the doses were there in each of those items. Of the 8,764 pregnant women who were identified during the study period, 704 were blind at night. Of that group, 450 were eligible for the study, and 397 chose to participate in the study. This is what they found, titled in the section of this article, Change in Symptoms of Night Blindness and Pupillary Thresholds in Treated Night Blind Women. This is the section of the article. Overall, the percentage of women who reported dissolving or amelioration of their symptoms of night blindness increased by weekly observation. So each week of taking a small amount of vitamin A, their night blindness reportedly was improving every single week. The percentage of women who reported a diminution in their symptoms did not differ significantly by the treatment group at any of the time points. So the percentage of each group, no matter if it came from carrots, their vitamin A, or from rice fortified with vitamin A, it didn't matter. The increased percentages of improvements in every single group was going up at the same rate every week. At the end of the study, only 2 women of the 397 reported that they still had symptoms of night blindness. And both of those people were in the carrot group. Isn't that amazing? 397 people, only 2 of them don't have reported improvements, and they were both in the carrot group. As shown in Figure 7, the final average blood level of vitamin A, called retinol, concentrations in the high-dose vitamin A capsule group was significantly higher than those in the low-dose vitamin A capsule group. So in this group, they had high vitamin A dose and low dose. They still had improvements of night blindness every single week at the same rate, regardless if it was a high dose or a low dose. It didn't matter. But when they looked at the blood, vitamin A levels were much higher in the higher dose vitamin A group. And this is what they show you as the blood markers. For those that took high dose vitamin A, low dose, fortified liver, greens, and carrots, that's the amount of vitamin A in the blood. In this online journal, Pediatric Pulmonology, pediatric means kids, pulmonology means lung diseases, and study of lung diseases, vitamin A supplementation for the prevention of chronic lung disease. How many of you have bronchitis, pneumonia, reoccurring pulmonary? How many of you have pulmonary fibrosis? You better be on our Breathe Free product. These are lung conditions. Breathe Free's got vitamin A. Doesn't matter if it's kids or adults. I'm telling you, they've also studied this a lot in children. And children are just little adults. So if it works well in children, give it to the adults, vitamin A, and you'll see the massive benefits also. Vitamin A supplementation for the prevention of chronic lung disease in premature infants, a cost utility analysis. A decision tree model was used to estimate the cost and quality adjusted life for years for vitamin A supplementation in preterm infants. The results they found: vitamin A was associated with lower cost and higher QALYs, which in the statement above stands for quality adjusted life years. So their lifespan and quality of life in numbers of years they're living, and the quality of their life goes up, and it is a lower cost to just use vitamin A to make that happen in children. A better quality of life for more years. The conclusion, they state, our economic evaluation shows that vitamin A is cost-effective to reduce the incident rate of CLD, chronic lung disease, in premature infants in this country, Colombia, where they did this. This study, oral vitamin A supplementation in preterm infants to improve health outcomes. Let's just see what they found out. In humans, vitamin A is a vital nutrient that regulates and promotes appropriate immune system function, cell function and growth and proliferation, more cells, respiratory cell integrity, lung, and formation of photosensitive visual pigments in your retina, so eye vision. A trial that administered 5,000 international units of vitamin A, which is not very much, it's like one capsule, intramuscularly, they injected it though 3 times a week for 4 weeks, found that this dosage reduced vitamin A deficiency and the risk of chronic lung disease in ELBW infants, which is what they're evaluating here. With 800 patients, total of whom 400 received vitamin A and 399 received a placebo, there were 3 of these random clinical trials run using higher doses of vitamin A at 5,000 international units per day, 10,000, and 1 used a lower dose of oral vitamin A at 1,500. And then they summarize these findings here in this study. I'm going to show you what they're plotting here. Forest plots of the effects of oral vitamin A supplementation in preterm infants, and you'll see what they're looking at. Look underneath the statement. A stands for death. B on the chart is how long did these preterm babies live in the hospital before they could go home or died. C, oxygen requirements up to 28 days of age for a baby that's born premature. What's vitamin A supplementation to help reduce ROP requiring treatment? And I'm going to define what that is here in just a minute. And then vomiting. But death is number 1. They want to know, does vitamin A supplemented alone, does it reduce the number of preterm babies, premature babies, from dying, or reduces the days of being in a hospital? And I want to show you this. This is so important. I need you to focus. If this is happening for children, this will happen to you and for your grandchildren, nephews, nieces, children that you teach. Please pay attention to what I'm about to show you. This is very important. And I laid it out this way. They are looking at multiple ways in which vitamin A supplemented can help preserve and extend the life of premature babies. So they have groups of kids, babies that are premature that get vitamin A, and then a whole bunch of them that don't get vitamin A, and they're comparing what's the difference. So you'll see over here, they're looking at, on the right, and you'll see it in red on the screen, they are measuring what's the estimate of absolute effects of vitamin A on these parameters. What's the first one? I'm going to highlight it. You'll see it on the screen. It's got a red box around it. They're studying what's the efficacy of oral vitamin A supplementation on babies, preterm babies, who supposedly only supposed to drink breast milk at this point. They are giving these babies oral vitamin A. All right, so what's the first thing they want to know? First thing they're testing is, if we give preterm babies some vitamin A and others not, what's the duration of time preterm babies, both groups, have to be on mechanical ventilation for those that don't get vitamin A and which ones do? I want to show you what the results were. They saw an average of 1.07 days lower needed mechanical ventilation for all preterm babies given vitamin A. So compared to the non-vitamin A preterm baby group versus those who got vitamin A and were preterm, the kids that needed to be put on a vent for breathing, mechanical ventilation to breathe because they can't breathe on their own, they saw there's a complete full day less time on a mechanical vent in premature babies if you just gave them vitamin A. Let's see what the next one is. This is duration of CPAP. Like, how long do they need to be on a CPAP machine to get oxygen into the lungs? How many days? What's the difference between vitamin A group and non-vitamin A group kids? They found there was almost a 0.96 lower days, 0.96 round up, that's one whole day less of needing to be on a CPAP for the group of kids given vitamin A versus those that don't. Well, if you had a baby laying there in a little incubator who can't breathe, I've had a baby in NICU, I know what it's like. They can't breathe. If it was your niece, grandson, granddaughter, or your child, would you rather watch that baby struggle to breathe for a whole nother day on a ventilator or on a CPAP machine, or would you rather see him come off of that and improve faster, a whole day faster? Every parent on earth, grandparent on earth, every medical professional on earth should want to see relief on everyone's faces, including the baby, when they can breathe on their own faster. Then they want to see what's the duration of which we just have to give these premature babies oxygen at all. What are the days reduced possibly with vitamin A from day one? And what's the difference for if we don't give those kids vitamin A? Well, this is what they found. There was an average days, not hours. Children given vitamin A needed oxygen given to them 7 days less often than the babies that did not get vitamin A. How many of you are struggling with oxygen levels at home? How many of you knew that vitamin A was this potent at improving lung function? Could you imagine taking 7 days off of supplying oxygen and being billed for your insurance, or you paying out of pocket cash for oxygen to your baby in the NICU, newborn ICU? Could you imagine that? If there's 7 days less on average that those kids with vitamin A supplementation need oxygen given to them, how incredible is that? Now let's look at this. Moderate to severe BPD. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but they're looking to see what's the moderate to severe BPD levels at 36 weeks for these preterm babies given vitamin A and not given vitamin A. Well, I'm going to show you what BPA means. BPA means bronchopulmonary dysplasia. It's a big word. Nobody knew. I didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up. So I'm going to read to you what the definition of this condition is for preterm babies. BPD is chronic lung disease of the neonate, the baby, that typically is caused by prolonged ventilation. Do you see the mechanical ventilation devices? 1 day less completely for vitamin A dosed babies, and is further defined by a degree of prematurity and extent of supplemental oxygen requirement. So just so you know, that's what that is, BPD. They want to know, how severe is this in kids with preterm vitamin A given to them and those that don't get vitamin A? Look at this. Out of 1,000 babies, for every 1,000 babies in these studies, 95 fewer of them had BPD by 36 weeks old, compared to the other group, which was anywhere from 189 to 644 more than the 95 less. Did you guys understand that? That means the lung difficulties of these children, the lung damage to these children from the vents, premature babies. There are 95 for every 1,000 kids fewer getting vitamin A that ever end up with this condition versus those who don't get vitamin A. What about oxygen requirement at 36 weeks old? Vitamin A group compared to the other group. 103 fewer children in the vitamin A group per 1,000 kids than in the group that didn't get vitamin A. That is a lot. That's 10% of all the kids per 1,000 don't need oxygen by week 16 or 36 versus every other kid that does not get vitamin A. What about postnatal steroids? After birth, given steroids, these preterm babies, how many of them are still on there after they're born? You want to see the difference? Look at this. For every child that needs steroids after being born, for every 1,000 kids born prematurely, if they're given vitamin A, there's 36 more. If they are given that need steroids, there's 36 more per 1,000 that need steroids that don't get vitamin A versus those that actually get it. Now let's look at death. This is the big one. What's the difference between the group of kids that get vitamin A and those that don't, that are born premature? Look at this. For those that get vitamin A, babies, for every 1,000 premature baby born, there's 22 fewer deaths in the oral vitamin A group. 22 babies for every 1,000 less that die being given oral vitamin A than compared to the group that doesn't get vitamin A. It's 22 families that are destroyed, don't have the opportunity to raise a baby. Duration of hospitalization. This was incredible. So how long are they going to be hospitalized for preterm baby versus those that get vitamin A and those that don't. Those that do get vitamin A, they're in the hospital an average of 10 days less than those that don't get vitamin A. Did you hear me? Preterm babies given vitamin A orally supplementation, they're in the hospital, meaning the hospital can't even bill for another 10 days if you give them vitamin A. You know how much money you're saving from your insurance company and from the medical profession and from your baby being drugged or treated or screened? 10 days less. Why isn't everybody giving their kids vitamin A? Why are they giving them vitamin K shots when they're born? Why aren't they giving them vitamin A shots when they're born? Oxygen requirement at 28 days of age. Look at this. What's the oxygen requirement at 28 days? Those that get vitamin A, for every 1,000 kids, there's 128 that have fewer needs of oxygen than those that don't get vitamin A. ROP requiring treatment. Well, what does ROP mean? It means this: retinopathy of prematurity. It means preterm babies, their retinas don't develop, their retinas die, and they go blind forever. I'm not joking. That's what this is. How many premature babies, they want to know, develop blindness from retinopathy of prematurity? They're going to say, you're born premature and your retinas weren't formed yet, and that's your problem. Nope, that's not true. Look at this. For every 1,000 kids born premature, ROP, going blind, there's 17 fewer per every 1,000 compared to every other one that doesn't get vitamin A. This is table 2. They're talking about the summaries, the effects of vitamin A and all these preterm babies. This is a part of the discussion for this. They write, vitamin A is an essential micronutrient for preterm infants. It is crucial for proper respiratory, visual, cardiovascular, immune, and gastrointestinal functions, digestive functions, and is required for normal growth and development. You might want to get your kids on our Doc's Healthy Kids so they get their vitamin A, or go get vitamin A somewhere else. I don't care. Go get it. Respiratory results showed that oral vitamin A supplementation yielded a slightly shorter, but a statistically significant reduction in CPAP duration, CPAP machines. We already discussed this. I'm going to kind of skip through this here because I already summarized that there. Let's move to this journal. You hear about West Nile virus being spread by mosquitoes. Well, there's something called malaria that's actually supposedly more deadly around the world for the last 100 years than anything else. Malaria and vitamin A deficiency in African children. If you're worried about things like parasites called malaria, let's check this out. This is exciting. Vitamin A is an essential nutrient required for maintaining immune function, playing an important role in the regulation of cell immunity and in humoral antibody production. Vitamin A supplementation has been shown to decrease the incidence of measles, which is a virus, diarrhea diseases, amazing, and all-cause mortality. Any reason why someone would die, vitamin A reduces all those reasons, as well as it improves several aspects of your eye health. The prevalence of VAD, vitamin A deficiency, or the presence of abnormal among African preschool children in the year 2000 was estimated to be 32% of all kids had low vitamin D levels, affecting 33 million children. Figure 1, they state, shows the most updated information on vitamin A deficiency for Africans using the database generated by the WHO with some recent national surveys. Vitamin A deficiency prevalence is highest among young children in the age group 6 to 36 months, and it decreases in older ages. It's because they're eating more veggies, I hope. They're showing you where the lowest levels are, where they're measuring it in Africa. The immune response against malaria involves both innate and specific acquired immune mechanisms, and vitamin A deficiency impairs antibody response to malaria antigens. Vitamin A acts as a regulator of more than 300 genes through its active metabolite, all trans and 9-cis retinoic acid, and specific nuclear receptors that are in the steroid and thyroid hormone receptor family. Does vitamin A supplementation decrease the risk of malaria? Approximately 2/3 of the 10 million children deaths that currently occur can be prevented by available interventions, of which vitamin A supplementation is one. Let's read it again. Approximately 2/3 of the 10.8 million child deaths that currently occur can be prevented by vitamin A supplementation. Vitamin A trials has shown that improving vitamin A status reduces overall deaths rates by 23 to upwards of 34% among children 6 months to 5 years of age, if vitamin A supplementation is given at least twice per year. Doc's Healthy Kids, give it to them every day. You're getting a healthy dose of vitamin A every single day. Does vitamin A supplementation decrease the risk of malaria? We're going to continue here. This is the next part of this paragraph. I'm highlighting this. The reduction in mortality was particularly notable for measles. I need y'all to hear this. Read this. For measles that kills millions of children in Africa every year. And when you leave America to go there, they tell you need a malaria shot. I want y'all to read this. The reduction in death was particularly notable for measles. 33 to 78% reduced death from malaria just with vitamin A supplementation. 78%. 80% of people can survive, not with HCQ, hydroxychloroquine, not with ivermectin, with vitamin A in malaria. Most notable for measles and most notable for diarrhea. The effect of vitamin A does not seem to be influenced by age or gender in children, aged 6 months to 5 years. The most logical explanation for these observations is that vitamin A deficiency increases overall death rates and that it predisposes some cause-specific deaths, like malaria and diarrhea. The vitamin A dosing regimen was the same in the two trials they did here. Children aged 6 to 11 months were 6 to 11 months, people supplementing, were randomized to receive either 30 milligrams of vitamin A or a placebo. Older children to receive 60 milligrams of retinol, which is twice as much, or a placebo every 4 months. Not every day, every 4 months. Analysis of outcomes showed a 20% reduction in all-cause mortality in the groups receiving vitamin A. 480 children aged 6 to 60 months were randomly assigned to receive a high-dose vitamin A or a placebo every 3 months for 13 months. So when I tell you this, you don't have to be concerned your kid's not getting Doc's Healthy Kids every day. The truth is with vitamin A, it doesn't matter. You just need to make sure they get it. The number of episodes of fever with parasites was 30% lower in the vitamin A group. This researcher, Burkina Faso, assessed the impact of a single dose of 200,000 international units, which is similar to what I did that night I had the flu, with a daily zinc supplementation for a period of 6 months on 148 children aged 6 to 72 months, which is 5 years. Children in the supplemented group with vitamin A and zinc had a significant 30% reduction in confirmed malaria fevers. The evidence suggests that vitamin A is a good strategy for children living in malaria regions because deficiency is common and because supplementation reduces all-cause mortality. I'd love that. How about the effects of vitamin A on the severity of runny noses and asthma symptoms? One of the asthma groups and one of the runny nose rhinitis groups orally received vitamin A, 20 international units per gram of body weight for 15 days. Vitamin A plays an important role in controlling the immune system's mechanisms for allergic diseases, allergies, vitamin A. Vitamin A could be a useful supplement in managing allergies, allergy rhinitis, runny noses, and asthma by decreasing the severity of inflammatory responses. Therefore, control of vitamin A deficiency is recommended in allergies. And this is why I want to show this to you. This is Breathe Free. I showed this earlier. Breathe Free. You can get it at the Dr. Ardis show. We're going to highlight for you. We're going to show you vitamin A as beta carotene as discussed inside of these research studies, and retinol palmitate at 5,000 international units is in one serving of our Breathe Free product that you can get at the Dr. Ardis show. Clear skin complex. We showed you those multiple studies about your skin, healthy skin, wound healing, diabetes, obesity. It doesn't matter if you've got wounds. Vitamin A is in your clear skin complex. Everything in here is not just for acne. It's for creating a healthy skin environment so it can heal faster, reduce acne, blemishes, scarring, and wounds. You can also get that at the Dr. Ardis show, and you'll see here in the ingredient deck, I have it highlighted in red, retinol palmitate. That is the version of vitamin A that's in our clear skin complex. And then you get to our Doc's Healthy Kids, daily chewables, vitamin A. Vitamin A, you'll see, is the first one on the list at 900 micrograms a day. So I just want you guys to know these are incredible formulations. Some of the unique benefits of why it is I recommend the things I have formulated, why I made sure I formulated them. This is our QR code. Remember our book. Scan this if you haven't got it. I hope you have purchased a book, and I hope you got a second copy for your favorite medical professional, healthcare provider. They need this book. They need to be able to know where to turn next, to what test, what supplement, how can we help them heal and their patients. All right, I'm going to stop the presentation there. I am Dr. Brian Ardis. This is the Dr. Ardis Show, and this is why I love vitamin A. Before you ever knew who I was, I already loved vitamin A. Vitamin C is miraculous. You'll see it in combination with a lot of our formulations, but I just want you to know you can have full faith, in my opinion, with Breathe Free and the ingredients that inside there, including vitamin A. Inside of our clear skin complex for the skin, vitamin A is in there also. And then your Doc's Healthy Kids. Now, this is not just for kids. If you're an adult and you like chewable little tablets that are all natural and natural flavored, that's what this is, and this is why we created it. Vitamin A is in there. Every child on earth should be on that thing. Every adult could take it until I come out with my own adult version. Remember, bee pollen has every vitamin. There's 95 vitamins and minerals. It is the most complete by nature, created by God, multivitamin on earth. And you can get that at Jana's All Natural also. All right, until I have my own, or I get mine from Jana and we collaborate to release our own, go to janasallnatural.com. You can buy bee pollen there too. If you're an adult, take a quarter of a teaspoon of that twice a day. You don't even need a multivitamin unless you want to enjoy the yummy taste of our Doc's Healthy Kits. All right, I'm Dr. Ardis. This is why I love vitamin A. May vitamin A bless your life as it has in these research studies in these children and adults with all of these conditions. I want you to have as much as possible a symptom-free life. I love you. I'm grateful for you. Have a great day.